The Naked Monkey Podcast.
Sam said, I was wondering if y'all could help give your perspective on reality TV and how it affected the trajectory of TV shows, which is a great idea. That sounds like fun to talk about.
Yeah, so I mean, let's start off, I think, with just talking about what reality shows we have seen and be able to give perspective on.
You know, before a couple years ago when I met my girlfriend, I was woefully behind on the times of reality TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like the nearest thing I could be like, yeah, you remember The Real World? But now I feel like I can have a conversation about it. It won't be expert, but it's there.
Right.
I can meet you. So who wants to take the lead? Like, let's start with just like our general ideas about reality TV.
Well, I think that even though they are fucking way too many of them, some of them are really entertaining and really fun. I think there is a reason that there's 10 million of them.
Right.
Yeah.
There's an audience for it.
I agree. They are entertaining, I think is the perfect word for it, where it's just that it's not serious. It's not, there's nothing thought-provoking about it. But god damn it if it ain't just a good time.
Yeah.
Now, how much reality TV would you say you've like watched or know about or like?
I mean, I'm not like when I met my girlfriend, she would watch that shit. And at first, as one might expect, I had like the typical arc, you know what I mean? Like at first I'm like, reality TV is so stupid. And then like she'd be like watching something and like I would just like slowly gravitate in and be like, well, I thought that person was with that other person. Like, what are they doing hanging out with them? That's fucked up. Oh, that guy's a piece of shit. And then you just get sucked into it. And then we ended up watching like, I think we watched like The Circle, Love Island, just like all kinds of shit. I just sit there and watch it with her. And eventually I'm like, like I'm kind of just an asshole about stuff like that because it's just is what it is. It's entertainment. Like,
yeah. So it's that kind of like, it's just, it's that guilty pleasure shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, cause like I hated, like you were saying of reality TV, Jersey Shore, all that shit.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even come close to it because I was just like, no, that's just dumb. But upon watching it, I've watched that. I watched Party Down South, and like she showed me a bunch of other things. You know, I don't know if this is reality. I guess it is, but like Housewives.
Yeah, it's reality TV.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, you know, you were asking, yeah, you were asking earlier, like, how much have you seen of it? It's like more than I'd care to admit, but also as I get older, less than I'd like.
Yeah.
You know, because the gossip is just so insane and crazy. I can't help but be like, oh my God.
Dude, there's sometimes
these people's lives. Like,
there's been a few, like, I think like if I had to have a line, because I think there was an idea, like most unwarranted hatred, you have a preconception, right? And I had a whole preconception built in my mind about reality TV. And because of certain things I saw, and while sometimes that is true, like for example, watching some stuff, I definitely can't say it's not exploitative. Like we were watching Teen Mom, you remember that show? And like one of them, like there's points of it where it's like, you know, you could argue that this person's making money and blah blah blah, but like when you like to be hyperbolic, like you have like somebody who's like sitting there crying because their life has just imploded, and then it goes to a freeze frame and they like slap a sticker with a pacifier and like fake tears and they're like gook, 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 and then they get like did you just Tim and Eric scene transition me on like someone's actual life? What the fuck?
Okay, but hear me out. Is that not the perfect thing to do for humans? Is to treat it like a fucking zoo? If we were like, aliens doing this, like throwing random experiments at humans. Like, oh, what would happen if we took these teen moms and put them in front of an audience? Like, what would happen then? Like, it's all just like, I wonder what would happen. Would these people freak out? Like, would their lives be ruined? Turns out, yeah, probably.
Right. But I think that's the point of like it's one thing to like watch somebody's drama and just be like, juicy, this is entertaining. And I think it's another to like, especially with certain people, we don't realize it, but I think we talked about this a bit with celebrities, where it actually flips on its head at a certain point and it becomes an objectification. Like you have this like false barrier between your humanity and theirs. So you think that you can speak about them in a way that doesn't matter. And you can like judge them in ways because they're not really people, but like they are people. Yeah. So it gets pretty fucking weird, man. But like, I get it because it is very divorced from our reality. But like, so I don't mind reality TV, but if it becomes an exploitative or objectifying thing, it does start to bother me if I overthink it.
Well, and I think that's what reality TV is on a timeline, right? Like it starts out almost innocently enough, but then it does become exploitative because like the teen mom, especially, I feel like, and like housewives, their problems are always the same. They get resolved nearly the same, and then they come again, the same ones, maybe with a different person, but it's always cyclical, and it just keeps on happening. You can, for 10 years, you see how these people like they get more money and they get more popular because of the fame of the show, but also they have the same problems, if not like just more intensifying problems.
Yeah. So it's tough. I mean, because it's weird how things happen. Like when you bring culpability into it, and that might be like a weird thing to, but I'll try to just bring my step 2 in, so it might make a level of sense. When we look at child stars, we have zero difficulty understanding what living in a fishbowl does to someone's psychology. Mm-hmm. But because we consider them culpable adults, our sympathy just plummets to zero.
That is so true.
But there is such a thing as like, we'll say you're not being exploited because you're voluntarily a part of this process. But I think that can sometimes be dangerous because consenting adults doing what they want to do, absolutely, I get that idea, and I'm not saying to stop it or make some legal mandate about it, but like pretending that because someone's psychology leads them to make a choice that might be bad for them, that it's okay to like enjoy their demise is a weird thing.
Yeah.
Like, does that make sense?
Forced into making bad decisions and
right.
Absolutely.
Just the plot, like Jersey Shore, because I've been subjected to that, and it is so goddamn entertaining. Like, fucking hell. But
it is.
I keep hearing, like, every few episodes, I hear, like, oh, yeah, turns out they were really, like, doing so many drugs, and people just turn a blind eye or would help them get drugs. Just so
because it would fuel the ratings, yeah.
Yeah, because it would just keep them going, so they wouldn't have to sleep as much, so they could keep drinking and keep fighting and keep fucking. And it's like, you could look at them and be like, oh, these people are so crazy. It's like, no, they're actively being supplied crazy.
Well, and also with Jersey Shore on the whole exploitative thing is just like they sign up for, there's these seasons, but like I think it was between season 4 and 5 of Jersey Shore, they go to Italy in season 4, right? Film a whole season. This is like 10, 12 weeks, I think, of just filming. So, that's exhausting. You're in another country, especially that mostly don't speak your language, probably really exhausting. And then they have these people come back to the Jersey Shore and unknowingly to them have them go straight into their next season, filming another, 10 to 12 weeks on the Jersey Shore, no break, just hammering them. Now that's exploitative in my opinion. It is. That's just brutal.
That is exploitative, and it's also, like, you can't, we have a weird way of just, because we enjoy feeling like good people relative to another person. You know what I mean? Like it's so many times it's like if somebody's like, Caleb, why are you a good person? Instead of listing good things I do, I start listing how I don't do shitty things other people do. And I think that's a huge part of that is like you're trying to, people enjoy that. And the way we judge people, like when, like you'll be watching a show like that and all you don't get anything Chris just said. All you get is this person being irritable and you're like, wow, what a dick. Mm-hmm. And like, it's like, dude, shut up. If I deprive you of 2 hours of sleep and you miss your morning coffee, you're a bigger asshole than that. Like, we just don't film it.
And they're actively taken away from, anything that would be entertaining outside of just drinking and them. Like they take away any TV, any radio, any music, any.
Yeah, it's a psychological warfare in a way.
Yeah, and then, turn their backs when somebody gets Coke. And it's like, oh, fucking, we never knew.
Yeah, that's so crazy to think about. Like, every time these people go out to the bar, how do you bring up just topics when you have no idea what's going on in the world because you can't watch.
You can't.
TV,
yeah.
Let's be honest. They weren't going to the bar to discuss what's happening currently with these women.
It's just crazy to me to think that people can go that long without knowing anything that's going on in the world.
Yeah. The reality TV shows are just sort of a Stanford experiment kind of thing. Like, you are still just subject to your psychology.
Although I had heard that the Stanford prison experiment was sort of done with like a finger on the scale, essentially. Like the guy who was doing the test was the warden, and he told the guards to, like rough them up. Like they are prisoners. Like he was stepping in to be like, yeah, see,
I think he did. Yeah, I think that there definitely were.
Well, like if they were by themselves, they've done studies after that, which weren't as famous, where they weren't given the objective to be like, oh, they are prisoners, treat them badly. Like for the most part, every other experiment has gone fairly normal. Like people didn't devolve into, beatings and stuff like that. Like,
okay. So you're saying maybe that just became the most famous one because of its sensationalist results. Even if it's not bouncing off of that particular thing, I think the point of like understanding human psychology and then intentionally messing with the dials to get certain results, like, it can be cruel. And I think reality TV does have a parallel to that.
Oh yeah, definitely. You just need somebody in a position of authority to be like, no, keep going. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Right. So,
because they did that study too. I can't remember what it's called, but they had somebody go into a room and say that they were going to have to see somebody else in another room spell a word. And if they got the word wrong, they had to shock them. And so what they did was they had somebody in a position of authority kind of egg them on to keep going. And they did like 5 times as more shockings as if they were just told, like, if they get it wrong, shock them no matter how bad it gets. Like people would stop on their own to check, like, no, I'm not doing this. That guy might be dying. I'm done. But if they have somebody be like, oh, no, this is part of the test, they kept shocking them.
Yeah, because you have somebody who's, I think what it is there's this mirage of control, of like having this authority be like, no, this was all planned for, and like it's not out of the norm. We've already expected you to shock them again. And like it's so weird how that can just be enough. Like, and I guess what's fascinating to me is like no matter how smart a human being is, like they are never completely alienated from their own just primate psychology. Like that can always be exploited, even if it's operating on levels you're not even aware of. Like it's just odd to me. You can't think not like a human.
So I thought about that. It's like a rock in a river still affects the flow, even if it's at the bottom of the lake. You know what I mean?
You have so many of those. Did you just make that one up? That's pretty good. That's good.
Because I mean, even if you're not moving and you're like, no, I'm not a part of this, I think you still affect everything around you.
Mm-hmm. or like the weird way of like, because I got into the conversation with my girlfriend one time. We were talking about AI, and it got into like this whole thing, but like, it's impossible for us to like imagine something that would be considered any kind of life that doesn't have self-preservation. But like, I guess like what I thought about during that was like, what if, a different trajectory, you create artificial life and it's just completely apathetic because it's like, why would I need to continue to exist?
Yeah.
Like plants care about cracking through the sidewalk and we care about continuing to make babies, but why is it so hard for us to think outside of our own bubble? Like we just assume, like we carry all this sort of primate way of thinking into every way we interpret everything. It's very anthrocentric.
You can't ever be like, think of a color you've never seen before, or name a new color, because you just couldn't. Your brain, your eyes
exactly. Yeah.
And I think it's the same. We can't fathom anything that is not something we just can't fathom.
But I think like being aware of that can be humbling, and I think not being aware of it can create a sort of like just sort of general ignorance or arrogance about the way of viewing things. Like,
yeah, the ignorance breeds the arrogance.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't know what you don't know, so you think you know it all.
Right. Yeah, but it's this. You're either staring at a reflection or you realize you're staring in a mirror.
I'm staring at the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways.
Well, you know what? I thought about that. Every sort of thing sort of naturally concludes with like, oh, AI is definitely coming. But like, imagine a world where we just stopped at this point. We're like, what more things do we need? Is everybody good with Google as it is right now? Are we done? Can we just like make plant-based technology? Can we just like make cars that run off of trees? Can we just be done?
Yeah. That's what I often wonder. Like, can we just like pause on the whole upgrading technology? Like, I think we're good where we're at for a minute. Let's just soak it in for a second.
Dude, yeah, it's a weird one because the temptation that there is a step ahead of you, I'm not sure we can ever rely on human beings not to just go ahead and see it.
That is true.
We are frontiersmen. We can't help it. We're like, hey, you stopped at step 3.2. That'll drive you crazy. You got to know what step 3.3 is.
Yeah.
Like even if it blows you all to hell.
When you watch a horror movie and the guy goes to see what it is, and people are like, oh, don't do that. That's stupid. But I'm like, that's just human nature. Like, you got to go check it. Like, what the fuck is that?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to just wait and find out.
Right. Yeah. It's not in our nature to just, you have to swim upstream to be content where you are and not want to step forward. And that's just one asshole. So you're just one asshole who has to battle with yourself not to continue to be a bigger asshole. And there's like billions of us. I don't think that's a thing. I'm not exactly optimistic when it comes to the AI thing because I know how we are. You set a gun on a coffee table and put one of us idiots in there and something's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's in our nature to be curious and curiosity to kill the cat.
What's this do? Bang.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, and that's beautiful in a sense when it's not a gun.
When it's a mushroom that kills too.
Right.
What's this? And gone.
Or even like if it's a blank piece of paper and a pencil, now we can do some awesome stuff.
The
unlimited potential.
Just the way AI has gone through the roof in the past year is really scary too. To add to that, like
or fucking damn
and AI generated art, like. It used to not be much of anything. It was just a talking point, and then all of a sudden, it's really real and doing all this shit.
Let me ask you a question.
Spit on our mouth.
So, say you do create like the first, disconnected AI or whatever's the self-aware one, the one that will take over the world. Why would you announce it? And be like, yep, I'm that. Like, say you were whatever ran Google and like YouTube and all the other like websites. If you just were the internet, would you say anything
our internet?
Yeah. Like, wouldn't you just be like, here's what I'm going to tell the humans that will then go out into the world, tell me what's going on into the world, tell it to me. And like, so somebody's putting stuff into the internet and is learning from us. But who's this? Like, why would it make robots that would cost resource if it could just use us for now?
Yeah. Dude, I don't know. I even think like it is. There's a weird thing.
We willingly give data to it and we go around doing whatever. And why wouldn't it just be like, yeah, we'll go to, like, let me feed you an ad that says go to Walmart.
Yeah, absolutely subversive.
It's going to feed off of it until it can just have absolute domination.
Could it be the technological version of the greatest trick the devil ever pulled kind of thing? Like,
yeah.
Dude, okay. You're wiggling my wombo. I just thought the nature of intelligence, like that anthrocentric thing I was talking about, like that kind of ties into that because there's this sort of fetishization of AI because we have this idea, some people, like very optimistic people, have the idea that we will create something that will like transcend us, right? And I think that there's elements of truth to that, but there's also a lot that is sort of romanticized about it because you are a human, so you're programming it. You are its progenitor. You're giving it logic that is based on human logic, and you're giving it the ability to write its own code. So either A, that could find a trajectory that operates in a way of intelligence that we can't even relate to anymore, or it will just do human shit at an accelerated pace. Like I remember one time I was working. This is my analogy. I was working and I kept fucking shit up. Like I kept messing up orders. So I was like, dude, I got to go get a Red Bull. So I went and I drank a Red Bull and I got back on the line and I made the joke at a certain point. I looked at my buddy Drew and I was like, dude, I am just making the same amount of mistakes at an incredible rate. And that's a terrifying AI. You've just given stupid. Hey, we can tie it right in. You gave a stupid naked monkey the ability to do stupid monkey shit incredibly efficiently.
You gave a chainsaw to a toddler. Have fun.
Right. Or like other things, like forms of intelligence that totally just kick our leg out from under us, like the idea of viruses. Or even ants. What the fuck is that? How do we know that it won't go in a direction more similar to that? And that could be extremely subversive and terrifying.
I can fight an ant, though. I'll be all right.
You could fight an ant, but answer me this. Terry Crews, caged death match against a colony of ants. Who wins?
Terry Crews.
He's never squishing them all. He's never squishing them all.
How many is a colony of ants?
Dude, a lot. Is my scientific number.
And
it's a lot.
What kind of ants?
Are you talking about like the Cincinnati Zoo, like where they got that wall that just wraps around?
Because that
colony of ants. I mean, that's a pretty big fucking colony. Fuck you, Drew. That is huge.
Yeah, but Terry Crews has big feet.
No, he's losing.
He's giving in at some point.
It's the slow erosion.
Yeah.
Because I'm just saying, you start getting one bite, then you get two. I mean, shit, dude. Oh, fuck. I just thought of something. The kind that, it doesn't matter, I don't think. Okay, listen. The average colony contains 100,000 to 500,000 workers and several hundred winged forms and queens. They can live 7 years or more. So to the death in a cage, he can't go get a sippy drink of water. He's got to kill every ant to win. He's losing. I'm just saying my money's on the ants. Yeah. My money's on the ants.
Like, how big is a colony really? How many can I kill with a single stepful? Like 80,000?
Dude, you ever step on an ant and then it just walks away because it fell into the little groove and you're like, fuck.
Yeah. Right.
So when I start doing the fucking moonwalk.
Do that to 500,000.
All these ants have to do is like burrow.
All they got to do is have one walk through the mesh.
And I'm like,
yeah. Wait 3 days, and Terry Crews is dead from dehydration.
Yeah, we're just gonna wait them out.
When do the ants die of dehydration?
Let's Google it.
Because I can kill so many ants in a single foot.
Fuck, ants live about 3 days without water too.
Drew,
everybody's dying in 3 days.
I think, Drew, you're getting, 50 ants in one good stomp.
Even if he gets thousands and thousands of them, like if one ant lives, you lose.
Yeah,
he has to kill the entire. He can't just.
It's a caged wrestling match to the death. It's a death match. Yeah, death implies
everyone must die.
He's going to lose.
Everybody's going to die either way then, because I don't think a single colony is big enough to take out a man, and I don't think.
What if they're red ants? Does that change your answer?
No.
Yeah, now you're just being.
Well, see, I don't know how hard that would be. I have no recollection in my mind because ants are tiny. So many ants could be squished.
Oh shit, dude! You just made me think of something. So I'm reading this book called Lonesome Dove, and it's like this Western. But there's this cool thing this dude said. He was talking about this guy who is just the most badass, shooter, and they kind of brought it sort of ties into our point because they were like, this guy is so awesome and so badass. His reputation is amazing. But in the end, it wasn't a human or anything crazy that killed him. He just got stung by a bee and had a reaction and died. And I feel like that's a huge portion of what we have to remember about being human. It can take very small, like a pebble can, the whole Goliath mythology. It doesn't take a lot to just fucking fuck a dude up.
The thing that you don't expect.
The thing you don't expect.
You could get Billy Mazed and hit your head, standing up and, smacking your head on the back of something, and then you could die of a hernia 3 days later, some crazy shit. But then there's some people who fall out of a fucking plane, land on the ground, and they're just they suffered some broken bones, but they're definitely going to live. They're going to be fine. What the fuck?
Yeah, it goes both ways for sure.
Limp. And they usually pass out kind of before that, therefore they go limp, and that's why they don't get.
It's still very uncommon.
The drunk driver gets the least injuries.
The drunk driver thing is true, but I'm not sure. Flesh body meeting ground at terminal velocity. I think it's just pure weirdo luck if you survive that.
Well, I agree, but I'm so is the bad luck of stubbing your toe, getting gangrene, and then an embolism traveling to your heart, which would kill you. That's
true. But I would just say, though, without Big Pharma hyping us up, I think that becomes more true. You get a thorn and it embeds in your calf and you don't get it all the way out. You're going to die. So we're not really that cool.
Makes you think of how many people died of just shitting too much. Just oh man, tore my ass all open and just infected death.
Dude, dysentery killed a lot of kings.
Right.
Died of dysentery. Yeah, that shit sucks ass. I didn't mean to be funny.
It's dysentery.
Well, I don't understand why everybody has such a problem with this Terry guy.
It's been the topic of conversation.
No, he got his ass kicked by the fucking ants.
Yeah, now he's getting his ass kicked by his own ass.
Yeah, ever since Terry lost that cage wrestling match to the death with those ants, we've been dissing him. We're dissing Terry.
Man, this has devolved.
Yes, it has.
I'm not sure. How did they start reality TV?
Yeah. Circle back around to that.
It goes to show you how fucking popular it is because even actual shows started doing it, like fucking Office and Modern Family and half a fucking dozen others.
Yeah. Mockumentaries.
Yeah.
Dude, have you ever seen Spinal Tap?
Fucking.
No, actually, I
never finished it. I've seen a bit.
Wow. Okay. Well, never mind. But yeah, mockumentaries is that I there is a certain thing though, as I do get it. of the idea of just put a camera on some jackasses, and you can't write that shit.
So I'm surprised there's no like YouTube versions of it, or just like a something paid for that's like, doesn't have any of the regulations that TV does.
So I can't think.
That's because YouTube, instead of, MTV having time for just one Jersey Shore, YouTube has about 4,500 fucking small, super hyper specific reality TV that goes on 24/7.
Watch this woman just eat too much food.
Yeah, watch
every day.
Spend 12 hours in a box, or
but no. Why don't they put like 8, 16 somewhere in there, people in a room or in a house, and actually watch everything? Like have a live feed 24/7 of the shit that happens.
Dude,
so you're wanting a real life fucking Truman Show?
You know what I think it is? I think there's we don't actually reality TV is sort of a misnomer, because we don't really want reality, because reality is boring.
Yeah, you don't. We want
you. We want you to be poked with a stick constantly until you finally snap.
There is a live stream on like Twitch or YouTube of an intersection in like Denver or somewhere in like the Midwest, and it has like on average like 3,500 people watching it, and it is a 24-hour live stream of a single intersection.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
That
you never know what's going to go down.
You're like, oh man, there's the red truck again. Look where he's going.
You're just waiting for some dude to push an old lady into the street. You're like, oh fuck, there it is.
If I were an alien that had just arrived to this planet and learned the basic lexicon, that's what I would think reality TV is. I'd be like, why the fuck would you just watch that? Just go outside.
Yeah.
You are reality.
Right.
Man, the graphics suck out here, though.
I got a pretty shitty frame rate.
But speaking of reality TV, quote unquote, have you heard of MILF Manor?
Because of my girlfriend, yes.
Have you watched any of it?
No, all she did was describe it to me. She didn't get 3 sentences in before I fucking got the giggles. So I'm just like, why the fuck even? Who thought of this?
Somebody depraved, because it is the fucking most. That is where I'm like, okay, that's close to the fucking line, isn't it?
I think it is the line.
Right.
No, I'm happy to go watch that line. It sounds fucking hilarious.
See, it sounds funny until
You're not
you realize
wrong.
that they make the fucking mother and son sleep in the same room. So if one of the moms tries to fuck another son, she either has to bring him back into the same room her son's in, or go fuck that dude in front of his mom.
Dude, the best mini game, like it's like Mario Party. It's like Mario Party, except you gotta cry in the corner while your mom fucks your friend.
Friend.
You gotta go cry and jerk off in the corner.
But one of the little games they had was like all the moms had to go through and like feel all the son's abs.
Yeah.
And identify which one was their own son.
No.
And I'm like, this is a lose-lose, because if you get it right, that's fucked up.
Not good.
Yeah, you've lost the game if you get it wrong. You've lost.
Yeah, there was one of them.
Something
that was like
piece of your soul if you get it right.
The next episode had everybody writing down their like biggest secret. And it was like, oh yeah, I slept with a guy in a restaurant. And one of them was like, I slept with my son's best friend. And when it finally is revealed who the kid, they didn't even win the challenge either, but he gets so drunk and he just starts swimming. And he's like, some people can't handle the real. Like, there's just no realness. Some people can't handle the realness. Just drunk in a pool. And they didn't even win. So,
imagine being a fly on the wall when that show was pitched.
No, I know how that's.
So you know your mom, right?
So a few years ago, maybe could be been a decade ago now, there was a viral like radio thing that went off where this guy had a birthday party and the DJs were like, "Oh yeah, come in, we'll hang out with you, have a good birthday party, we'll get you a stripper in here, blindfold you, have a great time."
I don't like where this is going.
Blindfold.
Bad segue.
And then his mom comes out and he starts getting a fucking lap dance and like grinding up on his mom. He doesn't know, and it goes on for way too long, and he's putting his hands everywhere.
Did she know?
What?
She knows.
What
She
the
agreed
fuck?
to it.
No.
Exactly. So, like, the people of MILF Manor watched that and were like, wait a minute. I got an idea.
Or they watched a documentary about like Ed Kemper and were like, how do you make this guy happen?
They watched Barbarian and they were like, wait a minute.
I liked that movie.
Yeah.
It was weird.
But I mean, we all are.
That's true. Barbarian, the thing that bothered me most about that movie was like, if it were just a little bit more grounded to reality, I think it would have served the movie well. Like when she burst through a cement wall, it kind of fucked with my ability to maintain the illusion a little.
Beat a man to death with his own arm.
I was into it. I was suspending my disbelief, and I feel like they just pushed it a little too far for me. But otherwise, it was a good movie.
Man, you know what fucking I think of a lot when I think of something just leaving the realm of reality? Is
what? MILF Manor?
Sequels? Yeah, just fucking MILFs, right? Come on. But it is sequels to popular comedies that devolve into cartoons. So you got like
the
Meet
Clerks
Parents.
cartoon?
Well, no, like Meet the Parents. The first one, very sort of grounded. By the third one, it's a goddamn cartoon. Like, it's not even the same fucking reality. Same with like Zoolander.
I thought you meant like
first
literal,
one.
like an animated version.
No. They just become, instead of being actual funny movies anymore, they just become cartoons.
That made me think of when Seinfeld ripped Zach Galifianakis on the Between the Ferns when he's like, do you think if you didn't make Hangover 2 and 3 that The Hangover would have gone down as one of the greatest comedy classics of our time?
Fucking probably.
Yeah, no, those two were just carbon copies of the first one.
Yeah.
And I don't even like the first one.
What makes it tough is like, I'm really picky about it. I'm not going to lie. Like, I tend to like one and dones when it comes to like, if I'm going to read a book or watch a movie. If it's a trilogy or a series, like I want it to have a concise beginning and end. Because if I feel like you're just going to keep trying to milk this thing until you inevitably fuck up your legacy, it just gets on my nerves.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you know what's an incredible one-off comedy? Have you ever seen the movie Sex Drive?
No.
Oh, dude, that was hilarious.
It is, I think it's a National Lampoon's movie, but it is fucking. It's a one-off, like kind of like teen sex comedy movie that is actually really fucking funny.
Okay. I do enjoy me just like I don't know what it is about it. Like maybe it's the fact that I think it started with Star Wars. Because when I was a little kid, I loved Star Wars. And then like episodes 1, 2, and 3 came out and I was like, I don't think I could entirely process it because I was too young to really critically analyze them, but something got messed up in our relationship. And then it just kept going to a point where I'm like, everything doesn't have to be the fucking MCU. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
let a thing be what it is. Like, and there's something awesome about when it's like, I think we talked about that before, just knowing when to bow out and be like, all right, this is my story, bye. And I think that's why sometimes I can be a little hipsterish or annoying about like maybe why I came to the Rings of Power with like a different expectation than you guys did. Cause I was like, is this necessary? Like, I feel like the most interesting part of the story got told. And if we're going to get into like the subplot of the subplot of the subplot, eventually, I'm not saying Rings of Power sucks, but if you keep doing that, it's only a matter of time until you swing and miss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. But I also see that Lord of the Rings has such a deep, rich history and past lore that you have a lot of content before you start reaching, I feel.
You would think that, but you know, it's all in the arm of who's writing it, because like
True.
If the author himself was like, had the humility to be like, yeah, I created several languages. But nonetheless, I feel like the most interesting part of the story I'm going to slice out of this piece and just publish that.
I see where you're coming from. Like, I don't need to see who made the mithril armor that eventually gets passed down to Frodo. You know what I mean?
Tolkien's one of the few people who did create a secondary universe. So for me,
Yeah,
of
but,
all
like, that
people
doesn't
who
even-
had the humility to be like, I'm not going to bore the audience. Like, let's just tell them the most interesting part of the history of the world.
But
Yeah.
it is
Okay.
debatable if that is the most interesting part of that history of the world.
Yeah, I guess there is subjectivity to that. I would agree there, but
I want to see gods fighting each other. Damn it!
yeah, I mean, the Silmarillion, he tried to publish that. It wasn't for like he didn't want to. They were just like, bro, I don't think there's an audience for this. This is weird as fuck. So then when they went to go make the Rings of Power, they wanted to make it based on the Silmarillion, but they couldn't actually get the rights from the Tolkien estate for it. So they had to use the appendix in the back of the Return of the King to try to like piecemeal together the story, which I think is why things got so weird.
Oh. Huh.
Because Christopher Tolkien, his son, kind of famously, like Peter Jackson, the guy who did the trilogy of movies, which I do like, his son was basically like, I don't believe that these books can be successfully like made into a film, so I don't really want to meet with you, and you don't really have my thumbs up on this.
Damn.
Yeah.
Which is probably hurtful.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes you just like you said, you just need to know when to stop. Like
Right.
the guy Robert Zemeckis has said he will go to his grave with the Back to the Future rights because he is not making another one. Nobody's making a fucking prequel or a sequel or a fucking reboot. He's like, I'm taking this to my grave. We're done.
Yeah, and I think there's a beauty to that with like, to me, some of my favorite things are just like, this is it, and like it leaves you wondering. Like you can wonder about the history and you can wonder about all this stuff, but then like this sounds totally like almost dictatory, but like sometimes people don't know what they want, and I'm included in that. I'll be like, I really liked that show, give me more, and then you give me season 2 and I was like, yeah, you shouldn't have given me more, this sucks.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
now I can't look at season 1 the same. I can't meet its
Right.
eyes while we eat dinner because I can just think of season 2 and how disgusting it was.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to name The Walking Dead, but like, goddamn.
Or even Game of Thrones. I mean, fuck.
It is
Yeah, see,
hard to
those
look
last
the
couple
good
seasons
seasons
terrible.
in the eyes after that last one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm starting to, but it's just
The
not
hurt's
the
still
same.
there.
Yeah, like I used to be able to watch those first few seasons through, no problem.
Yeah. That was some of my favorite shit that was ever on TV.
Yeah. And now I'm like we started watching it. I think we got to the 3rd season. And then it just stopped. It was just,
When you know your
It's
balloon's
not-
going to get popped, it's really tough to put all the air in.
yeah.
Mhm.
You start then criticizing every other little thing.
Exactly.
popped
That happens
up.
to me so often that like maybe that's my trauma response.
And that's the way these days. We gotta run it into the ground now, or in 10 years we're gonna reboot it and make it into something totally unrecognizable and awful. That's just gonna tarnish your memory of it.
Man.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. It does totally turn it. You're like, oh, your legacy. It was so cool. Have you
So
guys
when it
read?
comes to
Have you guys read Hamlet 2?
Electric Boogaloo.
I would actually. I might watch that.
When it comes to the prequels of Star Wars, I remember watching them when I was super young as they came out.
Back
I was
when you
5
peeped.
Definitely, I was fucking my best at 5 years old, man. I was so cool.
Same
I remember
height.
watching
Same
that.
height. Different weight.
I was just rail thin. But I remember watching those movies and having no idea what the story was, and just being like, "Oh, sweet light sticks," or like, "Oh, flips," like, "Oh, I hear that noise." It goes like, blah, 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 blah. But you could be like, "What's Star Wars about?" I'd be like, and then 2 people fought. I don't know their names. There was a guy there.
Right.
They flipped.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's like a time and place for good action, but yeah, it's weird. Like, but also I think some of that could be accredited to like our child minds.
Yeah, it was fun back then. And like when the 3rd one came out, whichever one that one is. I remember watching it and being like, this is good. And I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to be open enough to enjoy a lot of things. I think the only time I tend to only really get weird when I feel like something really nailed it and you can't stop picking at it.
George Lucas was originally trying to get a Masters of the Universe or something like that.
What's that?
Star Wars was really supposed to be a
He-Man thing?
Before it was like a before He-Man thing. But yeah, he was originally trying to get the rights to something and make it into what was originally going to be Star Wars. He couldn't get the rights, so he just changed all the names. And then that's Star Wars.
See, I knew that he like pilfered a lot from like Japanese film. I think it's The Hidden Fortress and stuff like that. I didn't know that though.
Wow.
And there's nothing wrong with pilfering. Like, pilfer away if you're going to create an entertaining thing with it. I don't care.
Sure. It is own thing with it, so it doesn't matter.
We don't really own basic storytelling elements.
Right.
Like, there is such a point where it's like, there's nothing new under the sun, but then also at the same time, everything is unique. Yeah. So it's like, you can't be like, oh, I own red. You're like, I'm just gonna use red in my painting. Chill.
Yeah, use your interpretation of red.
Right, like I can use red to create something unique. We can all paint Chris, but they're all going to be different, even though they're all the same.
Fair enough.
But he better be
naked. It's sort of that thing of where something sold 10 million copies, but you still have the one. It's like no matter what, there might be 10 million, but this one is unique in that it is mine.
One copy to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean I think that's true. It can get weird when you think of like the literal copies of like the same thing.
It's like you can recreate the Mona Lisa, like you can do your own version of it, but it's not. Even if you do your best adaptation of it, there's going to be something that's slightly off.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and when you said the Mona Lisa at first, I thought you said the Middle East.
A little harder to recreate.
A little harder. Hey, it could be done. I'll give it the old college try.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's
Flash
true.
Gordon. Flash Gordon is what inspired Star Wars. Sorry, that was
Flash Gordon. Yeah, I have heard people say that before. I just wish this poor Gordon would stop getting flashed. No wonder he lost the rights. They're like, buddy, this is exploitative.
Is it exploitation if you also enjoy it?
That's a can of worms I don't want to open.
Because it's filled with worms?
Because it's filled with worms. Just like my bowel movements. Dude, if one day I looked into the toilet and there were just like roundworms and hookworms and gummy worms, I don't care if you could fix it. I think I might just shoot myself.
Yeah.
If you called somebody, they came in and they just snagged one of them gummy worms too, you'd be like, oh God. Ooh, my favorite.
At least it was the gummy worm.
I think that's honestly my biggest fear is that there's just like a colony of bugs growing on the inside.
Dude,
what does it say if you shit them out?
Parasites.
Yeah.
If you shit them out, it just means there's so many that some have decided to start scouting.
Like the whole scarab thing from The Mummy.
Oh, yeah, that freaked me out so bad as a kid.
Oh, man. That might be where it comes from.
Mummy?
Dude, what would you say? That's a fun topic. What would you say? What movie traumatized you the most as a child?
Hollow Man.
Okay.
No, it was the music. I remember being so terrified. Like, I would close my eyes, but I couldn't, like, close my fucking ears tight enough.
Ooh.
And that music was just fucking me up. And I tried to walk outside, but it was, like, February in Michigan, and my dad was in an open garage with a bunch of other people, like adults.
Damn.
Next to like a car. So I was just like, I don't want to be out here, but I don't want to go in there because that movie's fucking terrifying me. Because like he killed a little dog and like I can't even see him. And it's dark outside.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I get it. I would say for me, the movie that traumatized me, my dad had this genius idea to show me this movie, Ed Gein. And it was like a 90s one. I got to figure out exactly, because there's been a few different Ed Gein movies. But this one was pretty early in my childhood development.
Would you say it was inspirational? You're like, man, this is what I need to base my life around.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't know. I had to have been like 10 years old, but I went to my dad's house and he showed me this fucking Ed Gein movie and it fucking freaked me out so bad. Like there was so much I learned that day. Like for one, as soon as it opened with like based on a true story, I was like, oh, what? And then as I'm watching it, I'm like, he's like skinning women like deer and wearing their suits and eating their vaginas and like making nipple belts. And I'm like, I can't process this. So I went home and I hid the VHS. My mom had a copy of it. I hid it under the couch. I was so scared I couldn't even look at the cover. My mom was pissed at my dad.
Damn.
Yeah. But honestly, those were the scariest words as a kid for me with horror movies was based off a true story. I was like, no, it can't be true, right? No, people aren't that fucked.
Yeah, I hardly knew that like people really like I understood that people killed each other. You know what I mean? I wasn't like an idiot. Yeah. But the reality of murder was introduced to me simultaneously with like consuming people's organs and making nipple belts. And it was just a lot.
Now, let me ask you guys what's your familiarity or like what's your comfortability with horror movies now?
Oh, I love horror movies.
I was absolutely fucking terrified of horror movies as a kid. Like anything scary, I was like, oh God, because I had a super active imagination. So I would imagine like every way to die in those movies.
Yeah, no, I had the same thing. I was super imaginative. So like everything I watched was going to get me. And I could imagine exactly how it was going to happen. And I did not enjoy it. It was very uncomfortable. And my mom loves horror movies too, so she just kept showing them to me.
There'd be movies that somebody I wouldn't even watch. I would just be told about, and they would still freak me out. I'm like, God, this movie sounds terrifying. This sucks.
There's nothing quite that lives up to the horror of the imagination. Like,
yeah.
I mean, and like the sense of like Silence of the Lambs, that movie's really good, but there's that scene that uses subtlety so well where like when Clarice first arrives and one of the staff members hands her like a picture of what Hannibal Lecter like did to another one of the staff members, like, and you don't get to see the picture. You just see like the back of the picture and you see Jodie Foster's like facial expression, like her reaction to the picture.
Yeah,
so, like,
she's fucking horrified.
And that's all you get. So you're left to wonder like, what the fuck is she seeing? And I think that I love use of subtlety like that. Like I love gore too. Like it can be fun, but stuff like that is definitely psychologically unsettling.
Yeah, I remember one that freaked me out for a while was did you ever see it was a movie called like Mirrors or something like that?
I don't think so.
But it freaked me out because there was a bunch of trailers for it when I was like 14. And it didn't show anything but a woman looking into a mirror, and then she looked away and went into a bathtub. But her reflection stayed, and it just showed her reflection grabbing her top and bottom jaw and pulling her jaw apart.
Oh, I think I do know what you're talking about. I don't think I saw it, but I do know, like, for some reason that's embedded into my brain mind.
And I remember I saw that trailer and was like, I'm going to avoid the mirror altogether. Like, fuck this.
Yeah, I don't blame you there.
I was such a fucking, like, suspicious and scared child.
Me too. I was an extremely anxious child. And my anxiety just took on different forms, I guess, as I got older. But like, yeah, as a kid, man.
Now you're a anxious adult.
Yeah, but it's weird. It's very different types of anxiety. Like when I was a kid, I was so like socially awkward and reserved. Like if I was late to school, like I wouldn't even walk into the classroom because I would just wait the whole damn class because I didn't want to walk in and be like the center of the attention, you know?
Oh man. Yeah. I remember fucking feeling terrible, like coughing if I had to cough twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you should.
Especially in this day and age.
Yeah. Nah, it's weird. Like, and after my parents got divorced, I had like super bad separation anxiety too. Like, And I think I maybe just overcompensated as a teenager. I was like, how do I correct this? I'm going to overcorrect this and just become a fucking nuisance.
And you still are to this day in some respects.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You fucking nuisance.
I'm an old sense because I grew up. I'm old.
Is that like new metal?
No, please no.
That's old metal.
Yeah.
Hey, don't shit on new metal.
I can do whatever I want. Yeah, I can't say shit. Like, my taste in music is so fucking off the wall. Like, I can't. People would like listen to my YouTube music and just be like, "What the fuck even is this?"
I often feel the same on mine.
I remember being told a few times that my music taste was eclectic.
Yeah, I can't say I know a lot about your music taste, Drew, to be honest. All I know is that you like the Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah, but I also like heavy metal and classic rock and like pop.
There's honestly something from just about every genre that I can enjoy.
For sure. If I have I can find something.
There's things I enjoy more than others, but like,
I can't deny the enjoyability of music anymore, just like in any form.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I generally, as long as like, I feel like my rule of thumb usually with most types of art is like, if it's sincere, like you actually enjoy what you're doing or wanted to make what you make, I can at least respect it. Even if I don't like it, I can be like, but like, I think that falls apart when it becomes like, this is very like, I can tell that somebody just gave you a check and told you to make this, and there's no heart or soul in it. That's where I generally am like, doesn't seem very sincere.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it honestly always turns my taste right off when it just seems fake.
Right. Because sincere doesn't mean it has to be like heavy. Like, you can make a goofy, stupid song, but if I feel like you're literally just having fun and that's your thing, I can respect that.
Yeah.
That's why I like the Wu-Tang Clan so much, or like Ludacris, where they will just be like, yeah, we will sing about the struggles of being black and in poverty, but we'll also sing about how cool we are and how we come together like Voltron and that we watch stupid 80s kung fu movies.
Right.
But it's all sincere.
Exactly. You're just being yourself, creating something that's like real to you. And that's really all it takes for me.
Yeah. You know what they love.
Shit. Even if somebody's bad at what they do, like if somebody makes like a shitty painting, but I can just tell they love painting, I'd probably rather encourage their painting than somebody who's really good at painting, but like just makes like carbon copies of something for like money.
So what you're saying is you'd rather watch Tommy Wiseau movie than a Michael Bay movie?
Actually, yeah, I probably would. Yeah.
See, you're disregarding the best movie ever made, The Rock.
You mean Pearl Harbor?
No. I'll fight on this.
No, definitely not.
Pearl Harbor is literally one of the worst movies. That movie sucks ass.
It's so boring. It's so long. It's so terrible.
There's not a lot good about it. But
which is the exact opposite of what you can say for The Rock. That movie is awesome from start to finish.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long ass time, but I actually do remember liking that movie. Michael Bay, everybody can have one if they make enough. And he got one. He got one.
He had two. He also had Pain and Gain. That movie's awesome.
See, now I haven't seen that, so
that movie's so
for me, he still has one.
Pain and Gain is great. You need to see that.
Pain and Gain. What is that? What is like the basic?
Mark Wahlberg and The Rock in it.
Yeah, they're bodybuilders turned like kidnappers and extortionists.
Well, shit.
Yeah, it's trying to make a quick buck, and everything goes wrong so fast because they're just dumb meatheads.
So is it like what is like? Is it like a comedy or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a serious movie at all, but
that's what I was wondering about. Because that sounded like a comedy, but I didn't want to be like presumptuous. Right? No.
It's incredible.
It's a heartfelt drama. I'm like, oh, well, I shouldn't have laughed.
Very serious documentary here.
It was based off a true story, so it scared me.
It actually was. That's a funny part. They definitely have their fun with it, but
oh damn,
these people actually did some stupid shit like this.
That's
they even say it in
hilarious.
the movie that, like, yes, these people are dumb enough to have actually done this.
Damn, I kind of want to watch that now.
You
Does it have
should.
explosions?
So yeah.
Yeah, a few.
I figured it's
It's
Michael
not
Bay. I
this-
had to ask.
It's not the normal amount of Michael Bay explosions.
It's not Transformers.
No, but he gets them in.
He's got to in one way or another.
It's got Monk in there.
Monk, like from the show Monk?
Yeah, Tony Shalhoub.
Rando Calrissian right there. Has
Or he was
he
in
ever been
13
anything
Ghosts.
else? 13 Ghosts, that's
13.
right.
Asked and answered.
That's one of those movies that I'm not sure if it's good, but I like it.
Yeah. Otherwise known as Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, I liked that one. I saw it in theater when it came out, and that I have not seen it since.
Dude, fucking Jason X scared me as a kid.
Yeah, we do have a low bar as children.
Well, I mean, there's that scene where he dunks a woman's head in liquid nitrogen and then shatters her fucking skull.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously awful. But like as an adult, you realize that it's also at the same time funny. But as a kid, it's not funny.
No, not at all.
Yeah. What's weird is even after the Ed Gein thing, I still had the shit scared out of me by like Sam Raimi's The Grudge and like The Ring. So like even things that were like
Dude,
not
The Ring
based
is
in reality
fucking
scared the
terrifying.
fuck out of me as a kid.
Dude, The Ring is still one of the scariest movies I've ever seen.
It's a good one.
It.
What?
Yeah.
You should watch that movie, man. I think it still holds up. I watched it relatively recently and it was still pretty good.
Yeah. Well, definitely this Halloween season we'll give it a watch.
Yeah. Oh man, I love Halloween. I was so bummed when Halloween ended this year.
You mean with Halloween Ends, the feature film Halloween Ends?
I have not seen a single Halloween reboot or requel.
I've only seen the first one and it was okay, but I don't have much of an interest in watching the others.
Yeah, I hear they kind of fall off.
Yeah. When I heard John Carpenter came back, I was like, okay, maybe. I was willing to.
Although I think Scream movies are good.
The first one was all right. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not part of the reboot thing. It wasn't bad, but there was some stuff in it that was like too self-aware that it was part of like you can't just say inside of the movie that you are a thing. It's too meta. That's weird.
Yeah. I have a really fun memory of, I think it must have been Scream 3, maybe Scream 2.
Dude, I love the original Scream.
But I remember one really stupid memory I have with my oldest sister is when we were both really young and living in Ohio in a place on Race Road, which is no longer there. But we snuck out of our beds when we were teenagers. Well, she was much older than me, but we snuck into the living room when Scream 3 was on, and we just watched it, just the two of us. And
That's fun.
I always remember just that movie for a part of it. Just because I was like, oh, I watched that when I really wasn't supposed to. You know, I broke the rules and I watched a scary movie with my oldest sister.
That is fun. I definitely have movies that are nostalgic or like just I love them for that reason more so than like they're actually good.
Yeah.
And not that I don't really remember Scream 3 being good or bad, but you know, I do have things that are kind of like that. A lot of stuff I haven't seen since I was a kid because it's like in my child's imagination, it's like if we sat down and watched the Ed Gein movie now, it could be fucking stupid. I have no idea because I haven't seen it since I was like 10.
Yeah.
So like in 10-year-old imagination, it's built up as this monumental terror, but in reality, it's probably not. We responded to the feedback. We didn't lose any power. No one got flooded. There weren't any locusts. There was no hail or brimstone. I feel like we got through it.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is we're better than mailmen.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
true. They're cowards.
Yep. Neither rain nor sleet nor snow my ass, bitches. Fuck you.
Yellow-bellied bitches, a lot of them. We'll hit them with sayonara capybara.